Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're back, and we're in Game 1 of the semifinals, Nerchio versus Snute. I'm ready when they're ready.
Okay. So, I feel like, I don't know how to put it right, but lately chat has been quoting me. And I never realized how often I did this thing.
What do you do? I want to
I go ... no. I didn't really realize how often I did it until chat like made fun of me like a couple of days ago, like a week ago or something. But
So do you keep typing out like ... no and then
yeah.
deleting it and then they're like rewriting something else instead?
No, you just
did it now. You just did it now.
I know, that's why I brought it up.
Actually, no, I can relate because there's this problem where I was. For those who don't know, like on stream, I'm a lot more careful with my words than I am off stream. Like off stream, I am not a good human being. But I used to say like "f you" like a lot, like in response to everything. So at one point, someone points out to me, Rifkin, you say "f you" you say no "f you" all the time, and I'm like, what? No, "f you" I don't. Like, oh, wait a minute. This is what I know that moment of clarity, that revelation of like, damn it. At any rate. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Corsair Cup Finals. This Season 2 Finals is brought to you by Corsair, but also in part by Twitch. You can help us out by either subscribing to the channel or, more importantly, clicking on the banner links down below to buy Corsair Gear. Now, keep in mind, while we only have links for things like the headphones and the keyboards and the mice, you can still navigate from those links to other parts of the website, and we'll still get credit for your purchases, which is awesome, because those are affiliate links, meaning we will get a percentage of your purchase. So Corsair Gear is really good. I already recommend it to tons. They're super fun people too. If you ever go to a convention center, always make sure to stop by the Corsair booth. And yeah, they've been doing StarCraft with us. I know this is Season 2 of 2017, but they did the whole year last year. Four weeks a month, 12 months of the year. It's good times. So really proud to be working with Corsair, and of course they're going to be helping us facilitate that offline finals. But enough of me. Suck it up to the sponsors. Let's get into the intros. In the bottom left side of the map, we got the red Zerg player from Team Liquid, Snute.
In the top right, as the purple Zerg, he is Nerchio.
All right, no early pull for Snute to have to deal with. And oh, whoops, we're in Europe. Why was I playing on Europe? Oh, co-op. That's right. Never mind. Mouse scrolling was a bit of an issue for a moment there. But anyways, Snute has, I want to say, good ZvZ first off. And Snute and Nerchio have played against each other enough times recently that they're pretty well matched for each other. But Snute's actually been finding a lot of success in things like Roach, Ravage, or sorry, well, I guess Roaches is the emphasis, but Ravager and ZvZ. Whereas in the past, they usually used to give most of those fights to Nerchio. Like before anything even happened, it's just having seen him play that style, having seen him play that style specifically in ZvZ, he was always my favorite in that regard. But Snute in more recent best ofs has been taking the reins.
Yeah, he won last time they faced each other and seems to be playing rather well. Despite, I guess Snute always has this air of like he's not reaching his full potential. This is what he thinks, but anyway. I think he's been playing pretty well in ZvZ lately. Hopefully that'll show here in a best of 5. And then the finals would not be determined, I guess. It's a ZV something, obviously. But
yeah. It is worth noting, though, that all players going forward, top 4 have made prize money at this point, though. Payout to the top 4 spots, $50 for 3rd and 4th. So almost as much as winning a weekly just for falling in 4th place is not too bad either.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. Bit of a Ling scuffle going on here, but not too much to note. Yes, Nerchio's Ling speed is later, but I mean, it's Cactus Valley, and Snute was not dedicating to Lings anyway. So there would have been enough time, and Nerchio has to make a couple of Lings just in case, because this is the one downside of Cactus Valley. Like, the upside is that it will take for like a longer time for anything to get over, especially Roaches, a little less about the Lings. But in the early game, especially like, you know, from minute 0 to minute like 6 or 7 or something like that, your overlord just won't be plentiful enough to cover all the main areas. And even when they cover the main areas of attack, it's so easy to just kind of go around them and not be seen. So it can be a little bit of a headache of a map, I suppose, for the the overly paranoid Zerg. So Nerchio has a couple lings now, and it's Snoot's turn to make a couple banelings, and no one should be losing their third bases. Not losing your third bases. Yeah.
That's the quickest way to jinx that, though, is trying to make that call, right? Not enough energy to transfuse the baneling, so it won't quite get the kill, though, either. So Snute actually ends up keeping this alive. Now this is a bit of a problem. One of Nerchio's banelings did go off, so it's not going to be super devastating in this mineral line, but he gets a lot of the drones to like 1 health. Quick pickup kills for those lings, and 8 workers dead, killed by Nerchio.
Yeah, that one sneaky baneling that lived ended up doing quite a lot, allowing those drones to kind of be one-shot by those lings. So that's a bit of damage. Now, Snute did just make a handful of lings. Unfortunately, they came out a bit late. They couldn't save the drones, but they're here and now, so maybe he could get a counterattack in, but Nerchio seems to have just as many lings, and he's getting that drone lead now, too. Uh-oh.
Well, just a note, after we're done with some of the action, we have fallen behind on the sub shoutouts, guys, so we'll get caught up on that afterwards. Someone messaged me about that right now. We do have Snute droning behind this, though. That's some confidence. Not that Nerchio's really shown devastating amounts of lings to be like, oh my god, watch out, Snute, but it is still, like, he had cut ling production, even for just a moment. Really scary when you've got Nerchio pressuring you like this.
Oh, banelings. Why did you... Why?
Okay, it kind of sucks because Snute, I guess, was on the other side of the map trying to wiggle his way up here, but yeah, ended up missing on him. What was an easy cleanup with just if one of the banelings had hit properly.
And that does suck. I mean, Nerchio is getting such leads here. Like, yeah, it was a bit...
This is bad.
Surprising to see Snute go for so many drones. They just made even more drones, as I said that, when he sees roaches out now and moving across the map. His Roachborn's pretty late. I mean, he hasn't even started his lair. No matter what happens right here, Nerchio would still have a lead beyond. This is bad news. Having to make so many banelings, even if they do end up cleaning it up, is just already so expensive.
Yeah. This, it's interesting, though. The point to make drones after having scouted the roaches, it may have been for Snute saying, like, look, I gotta take a risk, or I gotta, like, buffer my losses, because I am gonna take losses. I am behind like this, but Nerchio's roaches are spread out. These banelings can't get the splash damage that they want, and Snoot's having so much trouble cleaning this up. This, frankly, feels like game to me.
Yeah. He could have used all those banelings on the roaches in the mineral line and done some pretty significant damage, but then he wouldn't have any for the reinforcing flooding lings, which are cleanup anyway, but I think he was very aware of that. Ravager even gets made in the mineral line and the natural, and this is game.
I mean, to be clear, guys, Snoot's not dead right here, right now, but he's down a significant amount of workers. Nerchio's got an upgrade lead in +1. He's on his way to +2 in speed through that lair, whereas Snute is just finished getting roaches out for the first time. He's starting his lair now. I mean, there's a chance that these lings, they can outrun the roaches, and if they got in a proper surround, maybe could have even killed a couple. But Snoot's best trades right now still leave Nerchio ahead, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Nerchio, better drones, better army, better upgrades, more tech. Everything's like an aces for Nerchio.
I guess I will say, while we're both calling the game early, as it were, it's still one of these moments, though, where I guess Nerchio, if he does make a lot of mistakes, if he's complacent, if he ignores these lings and lets them run through with no defense whatsoever, then yeah, maybe Snute gets back into the game. But stacking the drones, just not being complacent, I feel it's like the bare minimum of what you need to do to maintain that lead, and Nerchio is certainly not going to be a silly guy.
No, he's not going to be no silly goose. Well, 3 drones go down and a queen is something from those lings.
On the silly scale, what's worse, to be a silly goose or a silly Billy?
A silly Billy. It just sounds like so much of a child. Silly Billy.
All right, well, GG. Nerchio takes that first game here in the best of 5. I'm getting called out on Twitter. You're right, my rhymes were wrong. They're no good. It thought it was a best of 3. It was a best of, or thought it was best of 5. It was a best of 3. My life.
Oh yeah.
My life is a lie, guys. Ugh. That being said, we are actually in the best of 5 now, of course. And to get caught up on those subs really quick, we, I think, left off at Tanya DK. So Braves03 hit us up for 18 months, saying 18 months deep, my babies. Yo, no, this goes back to that previous conversation.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
Yellow Stuff hit us up for 26 months as well. Jamieth 2000. Not James, but Jamieth 2000. Thanks for that back-to-back resub. And then Hey is 5 just now with a brand new sub. Glad to have you on board, friend. But we are hopping into Newkirk Precinct for the next map. Go find that intro. Get it queued. Also, someone in chat earlier was trying to dissect my name and ask what it was from. I love this when people do this and they think there's like hidden meaning to it, or like it's spelled like, nah, it's from the WoW random name generator like 6 years ago, guys. Like, there's nothing special about my name. Anyways, we'll see you soon. Oh, that's really cool. So I was tapped out doing the intro stuff. I checked Twitter. StarCraft retweeted about today. Hey!
Hey, StarCraft.
I love the StarCraft Twitter folks. They're pretty nice.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I'm talking about the @StarCraft Twitter, but we are in game number 2. Oh, sorry, that sounds weird. I meant like that's the one that retweeted. Excuse me. I don't want people to. So get on Twitter, go to the StarCraft Twitter, guys, and hit that retweet button as well. I would certainly appreciate it. But game number 2, spawning here in the bottom right. He's down 1 game, unfortunately, but we'll see him probably try to bring it back here. It's Liquid Snute.
In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, it is Nerchio.
And I know I had messed up earlier, but again, driving home the fact that this is the best of 5. So even if Snute does lose here, he's still not out of it just yet. But I think what's kind of nice is for Snute, at the end of the day, even if he were to lose this best of 5, he's still coming to California, baby! And we're going to get to see him for the Ting Offline Finals!
Yay!
Actually, of all the players, he's the only one who has got his flight information and such figured out.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, so I was talking to Gumio and a couple of the others, and the Koreans want to try and travel together, which makes sense. I would travel with friends opposed to alone, certainly. But there is an interesting development that I'm worried might become problems for us, in that they want to go to the San Fran airport, not the San Jose airport. And we can arrange ride and pickups and taxis from the San Jose airport, and it's only 15 minutes away from the venue. San Fran airport is like 40 plus minutes away, and we can't arrange anything for that. So I told Gumio, like, hey, we'll still cover it. Like, if there's room in the budget, we'll absolutely pay for the taxi and stuff, right? But that's 40 minutes away. You have to understand, you're taking a big risk here because we can't control that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to the San Francisco airport actually. So yeah, I would expect just like maybe you could book them a super shuttle.
Well, I was talking, I'm still trying to figure out if they're even going to go to that one. So the other part of why they're picking the San Fran airport, for those who don't know, is because it's the only one with flights back to Korea before SSL for these guys. Whereas if they went from San Jose, they'd have to wait for the next day, which wouldn't be enough time. So, yeah, we're working on that. But for the time being, Snute, at least going to be there.
He's gonna show up and it's gonna be great.
He gets a walkover. I'm done with StarCraft.
Well, I decided it's coming up really soon, man. It's really
couple of weeks.
Really, well, it's even more bizarre to think, for me, anyways, is that this is kind of it's gonna be the start of tournament season, kind of. Well, how to say
Premier tournament season.
No, that's not also what I'm trying to say. I mean, it's what starts us going places, I guess. So we go to California for that, and then I'm gonna go to Vancouver. These things are gonna die. Oh no, are they? Yeah, okay. And then Austin is only like 3-4 weeks later, and then I'm probably gonna go to Korea after that, and then there's Montreal in September, and then so on and so forth. It always seems to be like this 3 to 4 month block of nothing when it comes to January to April, like it was last year. And the year before that.
Oh, he wants the drone. Okay, barely gets it.
Gets it.
Of course, nothing close to a cancel on the hatchery, but Snute this time isn't playing just super greedy, and he's not going just drones behind us. He does actually have quite a few lings on the way, and his own banlings out, so he shouldn't be getting in too much trouble.
Shouldn't. Suits. Yeah, there's some more lings. There they are here. Gotta be careful. I mean, if he does take a bad baneling to the face, that could be significant damage on his third. Loses one baneling there.
That was actually a really nice dive for it, though. He's not sacrificing much to get these. This might supply block Snute, albeit briefly, because he does have a new Overlord on the way, but this will really suck. I love those 2 lings, though.
Wow, they
almost bought exactly enough time for that Overlord to start getting away, but ends up still dying at the end of the day. So it's a minor supply block, but it's not that big of a deal. I do want to point out, though, for Nerchio and Snute, while we're watching a lot of these fights go down, though, this is where we always talk about the best Zerg players out there, and they're weaving in like 1 to 2 drones here and there while making lings, while making banelings, and it's about still trying to get that economy while not giving up enough that you'll die to an attack. So it's a hard balance to find, and honestly, we'll cast Grandmaster Zerg players in things like the Corsair Weeklies, and it won't look anything close to the same as when you watch people like Snute and Nerchio. Like, there is an actual art to droning in this matchup.
There's an art to it. Yeah. Well, Snute has gotten faster. Lair, a bit faster as roaches. And, okay, +1's way too even comment on that. So, it does seem he's taking, like, a bit of a lead. But Nerchio gets lings to that natural. It might take away that drone lead. There's so many lings. They're not really getting much done, though, and they just run into a baneling right there.
That was a really nice baneling hit. The problem is there's still a lot of lings left. Only 2 drones dying, though. It's certainly not worth losing all of this, because when we look at Nerchio's supply, look what Snute's just done. He recognized he just killed a lot of army and knows that Nerchio has to replace said army. So this gap in the army, this is that difference where Snute can make like 15 drones or whatever he just threw down. Up to 65 workers right now. Incredible leads.
Yeah. If Nerchio wasn't going for Lair and a +1 already, he could have made a huge mistake going that high on drones. Like 68 is pretty high in ZvZ, or typically you do see players start to well they stop at certain points just in case these certain timings could arise, like the roach all in with no Lair, and any like baneling roach all in can exist as well. I mean, he was going to go to roaches, that's the point, but he didn't quite see the Lair until I think just now with that ling run by. But it's not an all-in. Oh, I didn't see the Lair. I did see the Lair. It's unnatural. Yeah. So he saw everything at this point, except the Spire. So while he knows he's not going to die immediately, there is no all-in coming, and he just has a straight-up lead in drones, so it's awesome. Oh, it's Snute getting the Spire, actually. Yep. Nerchio actually is the one that needs to scout that. Oh, boy.
This is interesting because one of the weaknesses to going for Spires, you do leave yourself vulnerable to a roach all-in, something Nerchio would probably want to do given his current state. I mean, to be clear, again, Nerchio's not lost a ton of workers, but he lost a lot of army that allowed Snute to get a lot of workers, and he's going to be able to measure that pretty easily. So for him, yeah, going pretty dedicated to roaches, going for a big hit, this makes sense. So Snute throws in some spine crawlers. He gets more than a couple of roaches to make sure he won't die to this. All the meanwhile, banking gas, banking minerals, ready to pump out like 7 or something mutalisks as soon as that Spire finishes.
I wonder if seeing spine crawlers is a tell in ZvZ that someone's going to try and go into Spire. I feel like it would be. That seems to be the only time you ever bother getting spine crawlers past, past the early game, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it certainly
trying
feels
to get
like.
that. But while Nerchio does try and poke around, Snute has been building a lot of roaches. He is not, going to be caught off guard, and he's even still investing into his +2 weapons, so he's not going to get overwhelmed by the ground force when he makes these mutas. So 6 are on the way. It goes right back into roaches after that, and while Nerchio might not have seen the Spire again, he might just know, like predict it, and six mutas, as long as it's only the 6, is not too bad to deal with. They find banelings. Stop a little run by right there.
The roach count's interesting here. So Nerchio is on 37 to 29 of Snute, but they're not all here's the problem. There's a lot banked up back at home. If Nerchio fights with the full force of his army, he actually wins the ground war pretty easily, I feel. But in the meantime, he is swapping over to get infestors out, burrow, tunneling claws. Like, he wants to be underground and not so easily picked off for the mutas.
He's got to be careful about his infestors. 6 mutas, they do not tear down much very quickly, but they could try and target fire the infestors. Or the roaches could get him as they pop out. Like, that's cool, too. Stu ducks in with the roaches, gets an infestor, and just leaves. Does almost BMing away. Overlords are still spread around for Nerchio, too, so those are the free pickings that 6 mutas can definitely get. And Snute still has this +2 a little bit faster than Nerchio. I think he could have had a real shot in pressuring Nerchio's third base there if he had already built the Ravagers. So now that they're done, it might be a little bit too late. You saw the infestors come out. There's a certain time they're going to be having to build up energy, but that might just be the time between you pushing and not.
It's actually really interesting watching the use of these mutas. First off, I don't think these by any means baited out infestors. This is something Nerchio would have been happy to get anyways with his composition, but those getting picked off, those not being dedicated in such high number, they're kind of limited in what they can do. While they might distract some queens up here, they're not going to add too much value to the actual fight. Unit count, though, is going to be 41 roaches to 40, 12 ravagers to 3, and 2 upgrades to 2 upgrades. The fungal growth is the only thing Nerchio has going for him, but a big concave out of Snute and more army supply, I think, trumps those couple of fungals. Nerchio just being beaten senseless within his own third base. Huge concave for Snute. Corrosive Bowser landing in this game. I think it's already over, Zombie Grub.
There it is. GG.
GG. All right, so that's going to tie things up 1-1. We're going to go to a small commercial break, and we'll see you guys in 2 minutes for Game 3 when we return. All right, folks, we're back. We're just waiting on Snute, who went to go BRB really quick, too. So Proxima Station is going to be the next game as soon as he's joining us in the lobby. Hopefully he doesn't suffer from whatever Alive suffers from. That keeps him in the bathroom for so long. We had Evelandra. 3 months on that resub, says, you guys keep my work day interesting. Well, I probably said your name wrong, but hopefully your day still continues to be better, less boring, whatever. This got awkward quick.
Way to go.
Nailed it. There's actually, I want to talk about this was so funny last night. I haven't watched College Humor in a while. Oh, we can go whenever they're ready. I'll save this story for later. Okay. See you guys in a moment on Proxima Station. Okay, we're back, and it's game number 3. Things have been tied up 1-1 in this ZvZ. Hailing in the top right is going to be the Blue Zerg player. Coming from Poland, it's Nerchio.
In the bottom left, as the Red Zerg, he is Liquid Snute. They're changing colors all the time.
Yeah, I kind of roll my eyes at that. I don't know. There has been 1 or 2 games where I have certainly been tripped up by the colors, but generally speaking, it's the player, it's the name.
For me, it seems to be because I got tripped up like twice last game, right? It seems to be that if it's in a very like top bottom map where the names literally line up with the positions, I don't have any problem whatsoever, even if they change the colors in a mirror matchup. But if they're like what they are, and you can't line the names up on the bar with where they are in the map, it messes me up. I just idle thinkings. Anyway, doesn't really matter as they swap back. Hopefully you guys don't get confused. So we do have, I guess, a pool first and a gas here, but not an early pool on Proxima. There are some Zerg players like Nerchio right here that will take that outer base. It's like, it's kind of the given on Honor Grounds and Proxima and the other matchups, ZVP, ZVT. There's really not a reason not to do it. But in ZvZ, you are, I think, giving a little bit more of a risk to it. And the reward, in my opinion, isn't as good, because you could argue the creep spread or the Reaper can't get past or something like that in the other matchups. It's not the same in ZvZ. But yeah, you still have Zerg players that do it. And Snute might be looking for maybe punishment on a base like that with this fast speed. I mean, you can punish the base if it was in the back too, but especially with it just being right out in front here. Maybe you could get a snipe on the queen, or just simply surprise Nerchio with his faster speed. As Nerchio won't be able to scout what the build is. His Overlord comes by the would-be third base of Snute. Doesn't see anything. Won't be scouting a main, that'd be quite risky. But a very early Baneling Nest from Nerchio. I'm gonna guess this is purely defensive, but of course you can go offense as soon as you defend.
Well, so this is where the Baneling Nest really interests me. And this third base,
Interesting.
Okay, so I'll talk more about the manliness after. This is really cool because on one hand, this will either trigger Nerchio to take his own third very quickly, right? This Overlord still doesn't confirm that there's one in the back, but he probably knows just because of the timing on this one. So he may be triggered to take his own third as a response and just keep up in macro terms. Or he might just all in and say, Snute, I'm going to punish the crap out of you for taking this third like that. Obviously not with his first set of lings.
Yeah. Again, like, the intention of this Baneliness might have been from the get-go to Baneling attack, but it also could have been like, well, I don't know what Snute is doing. Either way, I think it is the way to go is to attack into Snute now. Like, yeah, absolutely. He could have taken his own third, but you got the Baneliness and you got speed finishing up, even if it is a little bit later than Snute. If he can crush Snute's attack here, Snute will not have Banelings for the defense. And when he realizes how many lings are coming out for Nerchio, like right now, yeah, he's going to just try and slap down a Baneling nest, but he's going to be, well, he might be overwhelmed. This is a lot of lings. There won't be any Banelings on the front line, but they'll be making.
I think it's very smart and very important that Nerchio didn't play defensive on the back end of this. Like, he doesn't see this third and decided to macro up. Like, if this was a PvP, this would actually be an entirely different story, right? But it's not. It's ZvZ, and Nerchio's playing this very accordingly. As the Baneling Nest finishes for Snute, it's still going to take time for Banelings to actually morph in, so he's really not going to have any for a considerable amount of time. Third base might just have to be given up. I don't know. As the queens come down to the bottom of the ramp, they open a hole in the ramp potentially for these lings to run by, but also there's no solid wall to stop the Banelings now. If Nerchio wants to just attack that hatchery and use these Banelings to, yes, zone out the reinforcing lings, he'll surround that queen, and Snute's going to try and get Banelings in, but I think that third base is destined to die at this point.
It looks like it. That is a pretty big blow to Snute. Now, keep in mind, Nerchio had his own third base a little bit late, so it's not done. But, I mean, that's just, you know, it's going to be a straight-up faster third base for Nerchio. He's going to get his drones on a little bit faster as he's gone a little bit ahead in the drone count as well. And he still has Banelings to defend against Snute's counter. Counters on counters. And that's,
Oh my god. You know that joke? That's like, when he walks into a bar and says, where's the counter? It's because the Zerg took them all.
Oh. Well, Snute's really dedicating to this attack.
Oh boy. But the Baneling trades are good for Nerchio, and he's going to be able to focus fire down this last one, hopefully and ideally. Spinecrawler finishes up. No transfuses!
Okay, he does miss the transfuse. That kind of sucks. But he holds on to the attack. His Overlords could see that there's no more lings on the way for Snute, and he has held. He lost a bit of production with the queens, but he's already got another queen here for the third base.
Yeah, this third base lead is massive for Nerchio, plus those lings at the very end. It was kind of a tough trade. You can either let that Baneling pop off in your drones and have a lot of lings to counterattack with, or you guarantee that there's no loss of drones by sacrificing the lings like that. So they jumped on the grenade, so to speak, and this does take a lot of power away from Nerchio's attempt to do more damage, but it keeps him in such a good spot at home.
Yeah, he's now ahead on Lair. He's ahead in drones. He is missing an evolution chamber, but I expect that to come down rather soon. A Ling scouts Snute's timing as well, because there's a possibility that Lair's a lot faster than it is, and maybe Snute's trying to go for, like, you know, a faster spire or something, bring it back in the game, but
yeah, with
pretty even Lairs, it does seem it's going to go into Roach versus Roach, and Nerchio just took a lead from that early game. If he didn't get the Baneliness when he did, there's probably not much. It's probably a very even game, like even to the truest word, like definition of even, but no, as it is, Nerchio has a bit of a lead, and he is the one that's going to add on a Spire with the Lair.
That's interesting. A turn of tactics, so to speak. Real quick note, somebody in chat is asking if subs get replays, and the answer to that is heck yes.
Yuppers. That's my answer, is yuppers.
Yuppers? Yeah, that's because that's so different. I'm glad you added that in for context and clarity. I didn't want anyone to be confused by the yes subs get replays. The yuppers just is the icing on the cake.
Sometimes yes can sound like yens, and what are they thinking they're talking about Snute?
We only get Snute's replays? I think that's still okay.
Well, Nerchio did go for a pretty fast Spire, like when you really consider what most Spires look like. I would say that still on ZvZ, aside from a couple of weeks here and there, it's Roaches, then Spire, and +1, and then Spire 2, in fact. So, usually a bit delayed. This was Spire right after the Lair finished, and then into Roaches and a +1. But Snute does see it, and see that, you might even see it finish. Okay, it doesn't, but knows he's have to deal with Spire. And he does see the Evolution Chamber moving and like wiggling and jiggling as well. He knows that's not going to be completely dedicated on the mutas. There still needs to be a response.
Well, he's going to be going
for the last game.
Well, he's going to go for Infestors. And this is certainly interesting because when Nerchio did this, like, roles were reversed. It was Snute without Mutas. Snute was, like, super casually invested in Mutas. Made a couple, and that was it. No weapon upgrades or nothing. Nerchio's gone with 9. He's gone with flyer attacks, and he may even get more Mutalisks, all things considered. So this makes the Infestors not just, like, the answer, but, like, a really good advantage for Snute to have.
But Nerchio's not only going right back into roaches and their upgrades, he's also just going right back into, you know, ground tech. So he's also getting an infestation pit. He's going to get whatever he can from the mutas, and yeah, he's still going to add +1 to it. They are going to be limited to this number here. I already get a queen, so this really isn't that bad. They give you so much scouting, they really stop Snute from ever trying to attack into you unless he wants to try and make lanes. Those are still not guaranteed to get across the map.
No, control's really good too, ducking away from the Spore Crawler and really not taking too much damage. Some of these mutas are almost dead, but they're not. Catches the Infestor. Oh, that's nasty.
This really is looking like the opposite of last game. I mean, not perfectly, not a super big mirror, but... Oh, that Transfuse. It's still not going to save the Infestors, though. Okay, this is actually worse than last game. Last game, Snute was able to get a snipe on an Infestor, and that did help. Nerchio was just overall behind in that one, but here... I mean, Nerchio getting 3 Infestors, that's a good damage.
Snute was relying on those. That wasn't just like, oh, he got a pretty nice catch.
Oh, almost. Oh my god.
I like that he saw the opportunity to dive and went for it, but the roaches come into the fight, and this
Nerchio
has 28 roaches over 12. Forget anything about Infestors and Mutas, because the roaches might just win the game. Although
this is really... Well, he doesn't have speed. This is really a problem. Like, he can't reinforce and he can't back... Well, he did back away, but he shouldn't have been able to.
No, Snute should have not only been able to just chase, but absolutely capitalize on that. That would have been such an easy thing for him to punish Nerchio for. But in fairness, noticing no roach speed at 10 minutes in, it's kind of, I think you just expect your opponent has it, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that Nerchio did accidentally get it before or after something else. Like, he should have gotten it first. But it's going to be finishing up now, and he does still have a lot of roaches with the, you know, the similar upgrade. So Snute... I mean, it was probably one of those things where he's like, I know Nerchio's in a good position. He should have more roaches than this. I'm not going to continue chasing because it's going to be a little bit of a bait. And it kind of was. There were roaches on the way.
Hey.
But Snute can't get a 4th base. He's going to have to deal with this push first, and then, you know, then maybe he can saturate it.
Big thank you to Space Kablooey, by the way, for the new sub.
Yeah, subs.
We are in space, and one of these guys is going to go kablooey. The thing is, though, Snoot's army supply has caught up pretty quickly to that of Nerchio's, but it is still like, well, you know what? 35 roaches and 8 ravagers might not necessarily trump 40 roaches and 6 ravagers, because there are 3 infestors backing that up. And honestly, like 1 or 2 fungals could win the game here for Snoot if he does this correctly. And it's not about the damage the fungal does, but it's holding everything in place so the corrosive piles can actually land.
There really wasn't that many. The armies have evened up, though, so this is going to just be down to positioning, and I think there's like 1 more fungal left. Almost still 2. Snute successfully pushes the attack back, but he's still at a loss for his 4th base. His other one was not canceled, it was killed. It wasn't expecting the army to be over there, and this one looks like it's not going to be much better. Immediately cancel, that's good news, but still a cancel. Nerchio's had a gold base, I think, the last minute and a half. It's only been droning for like, I think, 45 seconds or something like that, but it's been available.
The funny thing is, though, you take a look at the income graph, this has really truly been a back and forth game when it comes to income, despite having that 4th base. I mean, we gotta consider all things here, that Nerchio, he's had a big army lead for the last 5 minutes, and that might just be because Snute chose to make a bunch of drones, and now both of them have caught up to one another, and their banks look very similar. I mean, actually, that for me is the biggest point, where both players are on 200-200, and they had similar looking banks for a moment. Kind of tells you a lot more than even the income graph does.
Snute's had to play the, I guess, more cautious, defensive, slow build-up game, and it has worked. You know, like, he did get to an even army supply with even upgrades, and it looks okay. But, you know, one of the things when a game does eventually get maxed out is that the person who's been in a better position longer will, you know, have a bit bigger of a bank, and that is the case for Nerchio. He's also gone ahead and advanced to Hive instead of Hydralis, so he's going to have better tech, potentially.
So we didn't talk about it, but Snute just did the oversupply thing where he build cancels a bunch of Spore Crawlers to get more units on the field, so he's got quite the number to defend, and while Nerchio tries to split the army from Snute, he's ready to fight in both locations. He does need a 4th, though, so this is not a base he can simply give up and walk away from. Unless he completely wipes out Nerchio's army and can counterattack, he has to defend this base.
He could take a straight up even trade and maybe still be okay after losing the 4th base. He does have
There's Fungals, though.
a bank just as Nerchio does. This is very, very messy. There's even some units coming in from the backside right now from Nerchio. I don't think it was on purpose, though. I think it was just an F2.
No, and that AI rallying, I think Snute could have like probably fungled that, got 4 more, but he's swapping to some Hydras behind this, which is kind of cool. I didn't even see the Hydralist then come down.
Yeah, let's...
Okay, so there's pros to this, though, right? Like, a lot of the time, we're seeing emphasis on Roach Ravager, not Roach Ravager or Hydra, which for a time was a popular strategy. But as it turns out, Corrosive Biles and the ability to hit and run just outweigh Hydralist's really fast DPS. These are not units that benefit from hit and running. They have to sit there and fight and just kind of turret into the damage. So gets choked in the mineral line, eats a lot of Corrosive Biles. Suit's still got those Fungals I'm waiting to see come out, though.
Well, he tries to get one, but it really kind of misses. There's a better one there, and he's going to move into Nerchio's army.
You know what? This is where those Hydras going to work out really nice as he stutters forward. His army supply is looking really good compared to that of Nerchio.
Oof. That was like rain right there on top of those roaches, and that will make Snute hesitate to push forward. They ended up taking quite the even fight. The hatchery didn't quite go down, and it's good that it didn't because they both depleted their bank, so he would have had trouble making that again.
Well,
but Snute does already have another base on the way.
This is where we may have some trouble for Nerchio having taken the gold base. This will mine out a lot faster. So right now, everything he's doing is on this sort of pseudo-economy adrenaline rush. If Snute, 5 minutes from now, 10 minutes from now, he's going to be the one with the gold, and Nerchio's going to have no gold and no 4th base. That's going to really suck.
Good point.
We'll see if it gets to that point or not. There's some changelings being a little bit annoying. This base is going to die.
Maybe could have canceled that at the last second. Oh well.
Snute, he's still sitting here with like a lot of roaches, a lot of ravagers. In fact, the 18 ravagers almost feels like too many, just because you can't possibly use that many Corrosive Biles, and they take up a lot of actual physical space, so you can't get them all in the front lines the way you want them to.
Maybe. I did want to talk about, Nerchio has that hive, and he's had it for a while. His +3 is already almost done, so he does have an upgrade lead. He also could get some Vipers in if he ever accrues a bank once again, and that could combo with the Fungal really nicely. Speaking of, a couple of free units for Nerchio with that Fungal there. Might lose his Infestor on the front line, so that kind of sucks. Might lose this one, too. I'm trying to lose important units, but Stu doesn't have any Infestors of his own, and I don't know about continuing to push in here.
Well, a lot of his army in the front line's almost dead. It's about to crumble very quickly, and while the army supplies were close for a time, 1 or 2 Corrosive Biles end up knocking Snute down like 20 supply. Now he's down by almost half. He's less than half the supply of Nerchio. This is gonna be game.
Yeah, that felt almost like a desperation push, but I don't think it was quite a desperate time. He still had his 4th base, even if he was missing the gold.
So, in fairness, though, to Snute, he had been shut down for so long, and so I guess maybe worried about Nerchio's bank being like through the roof, that like, okay, that may not have been a desperate push, but became one, misreading the situation, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you think you have this really great idea of getting this awesome concave, and then it doesn't work, and well, you're already committed, so. We didn't really, I meant to bring it up too when we saw the Hydralist end, but the Hydras did get a buff. I mean, I don't think it would play enough of a part, though.
Yeah, we've gone over a lot of it for ZVP. I actually don't know if the 90 health affects this matchup that much. I mean, obviously, it's actually an extra fungal you can take, but that's maybe it.
Yeah, I feel like for Hydras and a ZvZ, it's never really to do with anything straight up, you know what I mean? Like, you can go Ling Hydra and eventually versus Protoss, and eventually the Hydras will have to start tanking damage. That's where the extra health really helps. In ZvZ, if the Hydra's on the front line, something already bad happened, and the fungal isn't usually where you're popping the Hydras either. So I don't know.
Well, Honor Grounds is going to be the 4th game in this series. Thank you for the bits. Who was that? Riamar.
Riamar.
How you doing, Riamar? Yeah, we'll see you guys here in just a moment. So this is a little unrelated to the Corsair Cup finals that are currently going on, but at the same time, it kind of is. If you guys haven't seen, Jesse actually just tweeted a blog post. Somgrib and I have retweeted it, but it's about the Ting Open finals, and it, of course, lists the Eventbrite, but also some of the details around the event. So 100% worth checking out over on the Ting blog. That's cool to see. But at any rate, we are getting into game number 4. Now, he's on his last life and might be on the way out. We'll see if he can bring this back. In the bottom left, we've got the red Zerg player, Snute.
In the top right, as the blue Zerg, is Nerchio.
Yeah, the reason I don't have shame bringing the Ting Open up is because, of course, it's the Corsair Cup, but the Corsair headquarters are also where we're going to be hosting those offline finals, and I'm very excited about that. The venue is actually really sleek. It's simple. It's nice. And I hope, I'm deadly serious when I say this. I hope it goes well enough that we can host more events there in the future, because it's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
Deadly serious.
So, yeah, I know some people in chat were talking. CK Walsh, unfortunately, cannot fly down, and that breaks my heart, because that dude was a hell of a lot of fun to hang out with. But if you guys are coming to the area, please make sure to hit the registration on the Eventbrite. Even if you're, like, undecided, you're like 50-50, do I, don't I want to go? Reserve your spot on the Eventbrite just to make sure that you do get in if you do decide to go.
Yeah. Well, it's Honor Grounds, and it was his map choice. I don't know quite what he had in mind for this, but it's not an early pool. No early pools in this game. Let's not forget that last game, while it did go to a very long game, it started off with a bit of, not quite trickery is the right word, but, you know, it was supposed to be a little more controlled by Snute with the opener he chose to do, and it straight up wasn't. He actually got kind of, in a way, countered. Like, literally countered by the Banelings, but also, like, build order-wise. Nerchio getting that Baneling nest when he did was very, very good.
So what do you think about Snute taking the outward base, though, in a ZvZ?
It's so weird. I mean, I talked about it last game, right? Because Nerchio took the outside base, and I literally brought up Honor Grounds as the other map that you see it on.
That's why I brought up that.
I don't know. I feel like when we see this in a ZvZ, that it might mean that they mean to be a little more aggressive with it, because, again, creep strat isn't as big of a deal, and denying, like, Reapers isn't as big a deal either, clearly. So, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know if they're going to start taking other bases, because, like, Snute definitely takes the outward bases continuously in other matchups. I don't know if you do that in ZvZ.
By the way, people talk about live, and I guess mods weren't here to do the bets. Oh, I didn't realize I didn't have sounds on this whole time. Mods weren't here to do the bets, but Alive and Showtime are waiting to play out after this one in the other semifinals. So that series has not begun yet either. Just this information edition. But yeah, 3 drones picked off. It's not too bad. It's hardly close to devastating, and they're close enough in drone count and, more importantly, skill that I don't think this will be too big of an impact. It's really, for people of Nerchio and Snute's caliber, not just in this matchup, but specifically against each other, like, they're going to have to really, really get, like, big gains for this to matter.
Yeah, Nerchio comes in here with a couple of lings. There's already Banelings, and Snute's even getting a couple more lings. He should go back into droning after this, and he does have a third base, and I think the intention is to macro, but it's a trick about ZvZ Ling Wars is that it can very, very quickly turn into more of a committed counter than either person expected. But now back to droning, equal third bases. The decision on their natural placements doesn't seem to matter very much in this game, as everything else was lined up very neatly, like same Baneling timing, same Ling timings, and well, Nerchio does go towards that lair and evolutionary a bit faster. I can't imagine Snute would be far behind. He just is missing gas. And a little supply blocked. Oh, oopsie. Oopsie poops.
You know,
it's kind of a heavy supply block.
Well, so I was looking at the stats actually throughout the series, and on average, both of these players have had less than a minute supply block in every game. But what's interesting is Snute seems to be taking more supply blocks than Nerchio. Now, granted, this is the difference of like 10 or 5 seconds, and I'm not trying to make this such a big deal, but it is just this subtle little difference between the two of them that I find very interesting.
Sure. Well, I think at this stage of skill, I think it is important, and I think Snute would even would even agree with you if he looked at the stats. He might have been. Snute is one of those guys that does go into the analytics, you know, opens up all the programs that anyone has ever made and looks at it very closely. Not as much as TLO, but still pretty close. So he might just know exactly what his average supply block is.
Well, so that's one of the things that I think makes Snute a better streamer than some out there. And this is not intended to be shots fired. It's compliments for Snute. When you watch him stream, like, he explains a lot of what he's doing, and in some cases we'll even ignore chat and donations and subs to get his thoughts out about things like that. Like if he is analyzing like his time supply block or why he won versus lost the game, and I really like that. So I wouldn't be surprised at all when he's not streaming. Same stuff applies.
So Nerchio goes for a Spire.
And this is the attempt to scout it.
Kidoki, he's gonna scout it.
Nice.
That's nice. He was already on his way to Infestation Pit though, but I was really questioning more the double upgrades, which you don't really see for the tier 1 upgrades. Eventually they might add on a second evolution chamber for like 2-1, but even sometimes, not even then. It really is just 2 and then 1, 2, and you know, so on and so forth. But man, just adding on all of the tech. You know, last game, Proxima, it was like a 16, 17-minute game or something like that. Like, it was a very long game, and the tech was very staggered. They were responding to each other in a lot of different ways, like attacks, tech, scouting, and here, Stu just, like, scouts once, and he's like, okay, just pile it all on. It might just work out fine, but if Nerchio already had an attacking coming, this would obviously be a lot of resources he wouldn't have in an army.
Hatchery is going to get canceled. Couldn't quite save it, but keeps the drone alive, so you can plant it back down right away. I mean, moving forward, Snute has gone for Hydralisk, so I think he's a little bit more worried about the air than he should have been. That being said, we saw him go for Hydra's last game, and it was clearly part of his plan. Now, when the game is not in the stages of Infestors with Fungals and like 9 Ravagers on each side of the field, I would say Hydra Roach is actually better than pure Roach and can and win these fights.
Yeah, I think so. I think that still holds true. It was really the question of Ravager and Fester combos that made the Hydras maybe not as good. But, Snute seems to think that they're worth investing into, and even again pretty early this game. This game has really just blown past the early and mid part and just went right to that late game. Snute once again going to be the guy that cannot get his 4th base up, where Nerchio is pretty calmly and successfully taking his. He's got a lot more Overlord presence too, which might just be another secret factor in getting the Hydralisk. I mean, Snute has already pulled, like, well, I guess he never really pushed his Overlords out in the first place, but anything that he did, he pulled back. Nerchio, if he's going to lose his map presence, he would lose 4 or 5, I think, Overlords with the path it would take to his base.
Yeah, that's just kind of funny to know. And that might be that many Overlords could actually be a really devastating supply block, as you wouldn't really anticipate that, right?
Yeah. Well, usually I think this is a game not just where Snute is under. How to say? He's like doesn't have as many Overlords as we usually see. Nerchio has more Overlords than we usually see out in the map. Like usually it's 1 per attack path, maybe 2 if there's a split
you know
kind
what,
of deal, right?
So I think part of this too is when Snute realized there was a Spire, he started pulling his Overlords back, right? And Nerchio,
that's right.
He plays into the bluff a little bit more by just kind of overextending, knowing that there's not going to be anything here whatsoever. So, I mean, for Nerchio, he might as well have map hacks on right now, right? Like there's just Overlords all over. But Snute, regardless of this, has to find a way to defend this base. And with the Roach count being as even as it is, the core part of the army, unless he gets on top of the Ravagers in the backside, I don't see this going well for him. Corrosive Biles just layer into that front line.
So many more Corrosive Biles for Nerchio, man. Like, even though Snute got a decent fungal, like 2 Corrosive Biles came out, and they didn't even go on the fungal units, it didn't look like. Oh, this Concave's way too good, and Snute's, well, gets overwhelmed.
I really like his attempt to skirt around on the backside and focus down the Ravagers, but you're right, like, the overwhelmed is to say the least. A lot of the Roaches Snute has are not out and ready to fight. Nerchio's got more on the way too. The 4th base is denied, not killed, granted, but he's still winning these fights on the front line, and I don't think there's any way for Snute to really save that base. Or maybe Nerchio decides to fall back. He has units rallied and coming in.
Snute's pretty sure recognizes his position, but doesn't want to tap out. It is the last game for him.
Well, Nerchio may not have won the Ting Open or anything like that, but he has been the king of the Corsair Cup since last month, at least.
Yeah, and it looks like he's still going to continue. He's also gotten a bit of revenge the last time these guys played a ZvZ, where it looked like Snute really had Nerchio's number. Nerchio had Snoot's number here. Why is having someone's number something that you lord over them? GG!
Because you can call them at all hours of the night and be super annoying.
Usually you're very happy when you get someone's number.
Well, no, but I mean, like, it's like I've got your number. Like, I can contact you anytime. Like, I know.
Oh, the creepy voice. The axe murderer phone call.
That's not. That's not. Okay, whatever. Some. Here, this will be the new emote. Someone screenshot. It's just Rifkin's like, what the fuck are you talking about, face? Okay, well, that's going to conclude the series, and congratulations to Nerchio. But again, Snute will walk away today with at least $50 for 4th place, so that's not too bad. And then I should say 3rd/4th place, because really they are the same. This leads us to the other semifinals match, where we have a live versus Showtime. Should be pretty good. I hope you guys will stick around, though, and not disappear. We're going to take a small break. And again, check out that Ting post if you haven't yet while we're on break. We'll see you guys soon.